What's up, New Phoenixes? Thanks so much for joining Elon's Are You Ready live on air web series. For those of you who have seen previous sessions, thank you for coming back. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, you're in luck because all of our past sessions are available on our website. Visit elon.edu/areyouready, go to the schedule page, and check out all the links to see the information that students have shared with us so far this summer. I'm Lori Shackle, and today I'll be your host. As you're watching our on-air session, on the right side of your screen should be a Q&A panel. And if you submit your questions there, I will prompt our guests and they will answer your question live on air. The purpose of these on-air sessions is to connect current students, staff, and faculty with you, the incoming students, in the hopes that this will help you connect academic and co-curricular experiences and really help you get the most out of your first year at Elon. Today, we have some great guests from the Truitt Center for Spiritual and Religious Life at Elon. So first we have the University Chaplain, Jan Fuller. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Mm-hmm. I provide pastoral support in crisis. I resource all of the religious life and spiritual life groups and worldview perspectives. And I head up our multi-faith initiative so that people can help people understand their own religious tradition or worldview, to help them understand other people, and to engage across lines of difference.
Okay, great. A lot of stuff going on there, so we'll discuss that in a minute. We also have 3 students with us today. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yes, my name is Darren Daniels. I'm a junior here at Elon, majoring in strategic communications, and then this upcoming year I'll be a PR and marketing intern at the Truitt Center.
Great.
I'm Miranda Baker. I am a sophomore this year. I'm a religious studies and English major, and I will be an intern at the Truitt Center this year.
Cool.
I'm Pamela Goodermuth. I'm going to be a senior this year. I am a religious studies and political science double major, and for this coming year I'm the president of Methodist Fellowship and student leader for the Better Together Living Learning community.
All right, so let's jump in with the discussion here. So you were explaining all of the things that the Truitt Center does, and it sounds like it's a lot. So can that be condensed into any kind of mission statement? What all concisely can you say about the Truitt Center?
So our mission statement is really to do 3 things: to help students and members of our community better understand their own traditions, religious, spiritual, worldview traditions, to understand other people's religious traditions, and then to engage across lines of difference, to put a human face on what they might know intellectually about others.
Okay.
Those are our 3 goals.
So understanding your own beliefs, the beliefs of others, and then connecting those 2 things.
In hopes of, living lives of reconciliation is the phrase we use, but in hopes of making the world a better place.
Okay, great. What are some student experiences related to those 3 mission statements? How do you live out those values?
I would say understanding your own identity, that's a day-to-day process. And so through a lot of reflection and just thinking about who you are now as a person, and where you come from and why you hold on to the beliefs and values that you have.
Is there any specific experience at the Truitt Center that helped you personally, yourself?
I would say it took me a year and a half, so the second semester of my sophomore year, to really get involved. I heard about the Truitt Center, was aware of it, but again, it was the second semester of my sophomore year where I really became involved, and through One in Christ Gospel Ministry, that was really beneficial to me, helping me.
Okay, great. And what about understanding other people's faiths? Can either of you speak to that?
Yeah, so I'm a religious studies major, but I'm also really involved in the interfaith side. So it's really interesting to see both the scholarly and the personal perspectives. One of the ways I've done that is all the religious events on campus are open to those of different faiths. So I've attended Christian events, I've attended Hillel events, I've attended Muslim events, and I don't identify as any of those 3, but I've always been welcomed, and it's always been an interesting experience.
Okay, great. And that's kind of related to the reaching across differences and kind of seeing others' perspectives and interacting with those. Great. Okay. So you mentioned the phrase interfaith, and I think you mentioned multi-faith. So what do these terms mean, and how can students participate in these kind of communities?
Well, for one group that is the Better Together Living Learning Community, I'm about to be living on it for the 3rd time, so obviously I really enjoy it. But through my experiences there, my sophomore year, my roommate was a Muslim, and we had a lot of really candid conversations, just really open with each other, looking at the differences between us. And we also, another member of our hall was Jewish, and the 3 of us kind of glued together, spending a lot of time together, but we really got to know each other outside of kind of the organized events. It was a very relaxed environment to really experience other traditions.
Okay, great. We actually have a question related to multi-faith initiatives. So can a student participate in multi-faith initiatives even if they are atheists? Would you say there's an outlet for that as well within this community?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I don't identify as any of the Abrahamic faiths or really any faith that is represented here on campus. And I think those who identify as atheists or agnostic are just as welcome to participate. Their beliefs are their beliefs, whether they acknowledge the existence of a deity or not.
So it's a very inclusive and respectful environment, you would think?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
We do have a student group that's really, that helps to coordinate free thinkers, people who don't claim a religion or a religious tradition, that sponsor some events on campus and dialogues with religious people too. That's a good connection.
And I would assume that other organizations, including that one, are represented at the org fair. All right, and that is the 2nd week of classes on that Friday. So what are some other organizations that students can be involved with through the Truitt Center and exploring their spiritual religious opportunities?
I listed these this morning for somebody, so maybe I can do it. There are 11 Christian groups stretching from Greek Orthodox religious tradition and culture to Methodist, Presbyterian, Baptist, Catholic, Episcopal and Lutheran. What am I missing? A couple of InterVarsity, Campus Outreach, Young Life. I might be missing some. And then there's Hillel, the Muslim Student Association. I forgot the Latter-day Saints. That's in there. And then the Secular Society.
Okay.
There's 17 in all.
So
I'm sure I missed some, but
There's Iron Tree Blooming as well, the
thank you.
Zen meditation
That's
club.
exactly right.
Okay.
And there's interfaith community at Elon.
And see, I told you I was going to miss the most important one. Good.
Well, there you
It's
go.
good you're here.
So we have student experts with us. That's
Yes,
great.
that's why.
Okay, so there's lots of different options, but what would you say, we have a question here, what would you say to a student who's wondering that they're not sure what they believe in, so how would they kind of get a chance to explore that through the programming at the Truitt Center? What would you recommend to that student?
I would say go to different groups. I tried that my freshman year, and I found my organization through trying several different ones. Some of them I went, immediately realized this isn't the place for me. Others, it took a few visits to try to see if that was where I felt at home. But in the end, I was able to find it.
And then I would just say take your time. It's okay. You don't have to rush and try to figure out which one do I belong to. Just take your time. Come and, like you said, Pamela, just explore.
Okay. And
I think it's important to add that we do expect students who come to the university and come to college to think on their own. And sometimes, students come to college and they bring a tradition with them that they've been taught, and then they have some questions about why do I believe what I believe? And I really expect students to ask those kinds of questions. That's a normal developmental process to owning our own values and beliefs. So it's not a bad thing, and it's not something to feel threatened about. It happens sometimes very subtly, a few times dramatically, but mostly really subtly, and it's a good thing. to think about what I believe and why, what I do and why I do it. So we want to encourage that, and we want people to feel safe to do that, and also to feel supported as they kind of investigate. I have this belief. Wonder what I'm going to do about that.
So thinking critically about what you've learned in the past about whatever religion you were brought up in, or whatever religion you explored on your own. Right. We actually have a question kind of related to that. What if I'm not super involved in my own religion? Are there avenues for them to kind of deepen their experience within the religion they were taught in? Can any of the students speak to that?
Sure. So I grew up as a Christian, believing in Christian values, but I didn't go to church every Sunday. And so it wasn't until coming to Elon, again, a year and a half later, coming to the Multi-Faith Center, the Truitt Center, and then finding that group that I felt that I belonged to, that really allowed me to deepen my spiritual relationship. And so I would say that now I'm a better Christian now than I was before, just in finding that place in the Truitt Center.
Okay. And what kind of experiences in your organizations, in your clubs, things like that, what kind of experiences help you grow the most, would you say? It's kind of a big question, but...
Right. For me, it was weekly Bible study sessions. That really helped me understand a lot about my life leading up until now, and then just explain a lot of things from my past. And so that was my experience with it. What about you?
I've had a lot of different experiences, because I'm not part of any one group. But for me, going and exploring the different religions has really helped me deepen my own faith. It puts me in a situation where I have to think about, this group believes this. How do I perceive this situation? What do I believe? And I think that's probably strengthened my beliefs the most.
Great.
And for me, working in interfaith and multi-faith, I find I have to be able to better articulate what I believe in, to be able to put words to it. And I never had to do that before growing up, but now that I'm talking with others, I have to do that more, and that's really helped me deepen my own faith.
We like to mix it up. We like people to talk about religion. Most of us learned not to do that in polite company, but we really want to encourage people to talk about their religion and or their lack of religion, and to talk about that together helps us understand, well, I'm clear about this, I'm not clear about this, and it also helps us learn from each other, not to change us from what we believe, but to help us articulate better what we do believe or what we do practice, or even what we don't believe. So we want to encourage that conversation, whether inside a group or organization or across lines of organizations or just out on campus or in a class. That's happening all around us, making people better at what they do and who they are.
I mentioned this last night in the inclusive community session, which you should go watch if you haven't already. But one of my biggest realizations at Elon was in a religious studies course. It was an intro course with LD Russell, who's amazing. But he created this very respectful environment for us to talk very openly about what we believed and what we disagreed with and things like that. And one of my biggest aha moments that I said last night was when another student had a completely different perspective and we were able to disagree in this very open, inclusive environment. And I was like, oh, I've never even thought about that issue like that before. And I completely changed my mindset on that thing. And it made me realize how much I don't know, how much there is to really explore. So how do we handle those kind of conflicts and those kind of disagreements? Are we welcoming of those? How are those handled in different clubs and organizations in your experience?
I think, like in interfaith community at Elon, we have lots of those conversations because most of us are coming from various backgrounds. But in the safe community, at least especially in interfaith community at Elon, we actually have safe space rules, and we create that safe space, and we have an agreement that we don't have to believe the same thing. We can agree to say, that's your belief and this is my belief, and I'm going to keep believing what I believe.
Mhm.
But we're different people. So.
Great. You add?
Again, just with the safe space rules, it's also acknowledging that everyone has their own experiences, and then not necessarily to take their stories and spread it all around. Understanding that when they're speaking it to you, it's just to you.
Mhm.
We know, the world we live in is full of conflict, and we're not afraid of that conflict here. We want to be honest about what we believe, and we want to do that in a careful, respectful way. The content of what we disagree about is different from the way we communicate when we disagree, and that's what we want to be learning together. We have a phrase that we like to use, that we're better together. We think we are. We think the world is going to be better when we learn to talk about our differences together and hold them dearly, but be respectful in the way we do that. So that's what I think that's what we're learning. That's what I think you all are learning and demonstrating too. So
the communication and that kind of thing is very important to these kinds of interactions. It's how you go about these interactions. Great. When you were just talking there, a lot of your phrasing was global oriented. And Elon tends to have this global focus. We have the global experience course. We emphasize study abroad, study USA, studying world languages and cultures. And I think multi-faith is very well connected to that. So what does this mean big picture wise? What are students supposed to get from these kinds of experiences beyond Elon in addition to their time as a student?
Let's take a step
It's a big question, you guys.
Big one.
Jump
Good
in.
one.
Well, technology is making the workplace a situation where you can have a meeting with somebody in Japan, and having a multi-faith background, having that understanding of how different cultures act and that other cultures act differently than you do, that can be very useful in the workplace, in traveling, in a lot of different situations, and not just international situations. There are a lot of different religions in America, and having that understanding can be really helpful just in everyday conversations.
I would say it makes you a much better, well-rounded person. And so once you leave Elon, you're prepared to take on the world, and you're prepared to meet and interact and engage with people who, whose beliefs are different from yours. And so it all falls along that line.
Great. Okay.
It's really just what they were talking about, that being able to go out and interact with a wide range of people. No matter what your career is, you're probably going to be working with people from other traditions around the world. You have to be able to understand, and if not sympathize, at least empathize.
And that communication aspect comes in again there as well. So great. Okay. We have a question that I want to answer real quick. It's very general. What is a chaplain? So what does a chaplain do, and how do you interact with students individually? Can you talk more about your role on campus?
A chaplain is really a religious representative. I have my own tradition, but my job is really to help others be the best they can be. So to provide resources for, say, worship or prayer in groups or in privately, to help our students make connection with local churches or congregations or houses of prayer. I do this because I love students, and I love the way the student years are so rich and provide so many questions for life, and the way students engage those questions. I think that when you're learning economics, you're you're also learning about what's a just way of living. I mean, you're bound to ask those questions. Or when you're learning religion, you're learning about what motivates culture and even conflict sometimes. So I think I love asking those questions of students and hearing their answers. But I am here as a resource in good times to help kind of foment those questions and be a friend and get people talking together. And then in hard times, you might want to know a chaplain because you might want somebody to just talk to about the hard stuff, or have somebody on your side, or if you have a crisis, you might want somebody to come and see you in the hospital. We hope that won't happen to any of you, never. But it does sometimes happen, and so a caring presence, somebody to talk about. Hey, I'm learning something that troubles me, and I want to think about that with you. So I want to be a safe place, and my staff wants to be part of that process of helping students process what's happening to in class and out of class, and so a chaplain can be pretty fun to have around, I think.
Great. So you're right. Right?
Yes. Say right.
Oh, yes.
Say yes.
So you're the personification of a safe place. You're the safe person to go to. But let's talk about the physical safe place. So the Truitt Center is housed in the Newman Lumen Pavilion, correct? So tell me about the facilities there and what kind of rooms are there and what Newman Lumen even means. Saw you giggle.
Somebody else do that.
All right.
Go for it.
Okay. So the Newman Lumen Pavilion houses meditation room, prayer room. There's the meditation garden outside. The sacred space is a beautiful space that any tradition can use. There are no symbols there's no symbols. So any tradition can use it and be welcomed there. It's the McBride Gathering Space, which events can be hosted there. There's a classroom, Oasis, which is just a really cool place to hang out. TV, beanbag chairs.
I studied there. Yep.
Great places to study. And then all of the chaplains and affiliate staff are there. So the staff for, say, Young Life, or the Hillel director, and of course, Chaplain Fuller. They're all in that building. So you have all the resources right there in one place.
Great. And that is in the academic village, which is next to a lot of other resources. So very central location.
What about Newman Lumen?
Yes.
You know
what
the
does
meaning
that
of
mean?
that? Newman Lumen? Maybe I better answer.
Why don't you-
So Newman Lumen is the college motto, and it means Newman intellectual light, which is what we do here at a university, and spiritual light. So we want to, the mission of our building is really to combine the intellectual process and the spiritual process. Education is a spiritual adventure. So we want people to kind of recognize that, and that's what the building stands for. And it also is the representative of our commitment to multi-faith inclusiveness, to really welcoming people from all religious or non-religious traditions, and as a safe place to do that.
Okay, great. Can we talk more about some of the programming that happens at the Truitt Center? I know one professor had a whirlwind tour of all the different world religions. There's a lot of, they had the weddings from different backgrounds at one point, so there's a lot of cool stuff going on. So tell me some more about that. Come on, students.
I think that one of the most popular ones is Holly, so that's the Spring Festival of Colors. You get to throw paint, this color powder on everyone, so that's really popular.
And what religion is that from?
Hinduism.
Yeah. So the Hindu festival.
Hindu festival.
Cool. That's one event.
And then there were like you said, the weddings, and there was a Jewish wedding, Roman Catholic wedding. I don't remember.
In case parents are watching, you ought to really say they were mock weddings.
Yeah, sorry, mock weddings.
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was Black Southern Baptist.
Black Southern Baptist, and I don't remember the last one.
Muslim.
A Muslim wedding.
Okay.
So we did that because you're going to be invited to a Muslim wedding or a Jewish wedding or some kind of wedding and want to know what to do and how to dance.
Or if you dance, it's a big part.
How to politely not dance.
Right.
So there's all these different events from different backgrounds and different religions, and all students on campus are welcome to join and see what they're all about.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And you know that all religions share food. So we do a lot of that too. So at our Holy Festival, we have Indian food. And at the Mardi Gras Festival, we have Louisiana food, soul food. And at the, so we do a lot of religious chowing down too.
There you go.
There we are.
Interesting events that come with free food. Always a plus.
Free food for college students. That's how you get them there. There you go.
So we also have on Thursday mornings, we have something called Newman Lumen. And it is our reflection time on campus. It's in that, I don't know whether you've talked about college coffee at any of these, but on Tuesdays, there's a window of 30 minutes when we gather as a community for coffee and just making connections. And on Thursday at that same time in the morning, we gather for what we call Newman Lumen. And this year we're going to really be focusing on, the theme is the enduring questions, the questions in life that get more complex every time you ask them, every time you come back. Why is there suffering? What does justice look like? Why am I here in the world? What's the meaning of my life? Those kinds. So we're going to engage those questions on Thursday mornings, and those they could be spiritual questions or religious questions or not. They're just the questions of how do I, what's the meaning of my life? What am I going to do with my life? All those kinds of questions that are worth thinking about over and over again. So we love people to come to that and to really talk with us about that.
Well, good. A lot of good stuff going on. Let's look out for that. So in addition to all the stuff that happens on campus with on-campus faculty and staff and students, we also invite people like experts in different religions and different studies to come to campus. So can you tell me some more about the other people that we bring in, Elon brings in from outside to talk about these things?
Well, one series we've done before is Real Talk with an imam, Real Talk with a rabbi, and they bring in the leader of whichever religion they're doing at that point in time, and they just answer questions and tell kind of basic facts about the tradition. And I know when we did Real Talk with an imam, there was a lot of community members who came in and learned a lot about Islam.
Last year we had a Tibetan Buddhist monk come, and he led meditation sitting. He talked about Buddhism and coming from Tibet and the culture and conflict around Tibet now. It was very interesting. It was really cool to hear his background and hear his beliefs.
Awesome.
And then Ibu Patel, I had the opportunity to hear him speak, and he was also here in the spring of last year. And just hearing him speak, I would say that's what really permitted me to want to get involved with the idea of interfaith and multi-faith. And so just a really influential speaker.
For being really inspirational people. Awesome, good stuff. We only have a couple minutes left, but I want to put out one last question for the students. What advice would you give to the incoming students about making the most of the Truitt Center's offerings for their first year at Elon?
I would just say, first of all, just come visit the building. It's an amazing atmosphere when you walk in. It's a wonderful place to be. And so first, just come and ask questions to the interns or whoever's working behind the desk, and just that's what I did, and that's why I'm working there now. So just come in and ask questions and just find out more about it first. And then anyone want to add to it?
Come to events. Even if your friends don't necessarily want to come and try. Everybody's welcoming. Everybody's friendly. You can come to an event, different belief. Just come and try things out.
And it can be any event. If you don't necessarily identify with a certain religion, you can go to that event. There's is open for anyone and everyone. So definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, be willing to go to ones that maybe you may not know as much about. You want to learn more about the tradition? Coming to an event is a great way to do that.
I would also say invest in your own religion. Get invested in something that nourishes you, however that is. The best way to find out about our events is to get on our mailing list, which is Truitt Center at elon.edu. I was going to do that wrong. Truitt with 2 T's on the end, center.
Okay, and
At elon.edu.
they would email that email address and then
Just
they'd
email
get
us
on the
and say, put
newsletter?
us on your list, and then you'll get our weekly newsletters, and then you'll know what's going on. That's a good,
Great.
because how else are you going to know what else is what's
There's
going
so
on?
much happening.
Or
around
like
the
us on
campus.
Facebook, Elon University Truitt Center.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming. We had a great discussion about the Truitt Center for Spiritual and Religious Life. We have another session next Tuesday. We will be covering the Student Professional Development Center at 6 p.m. So that's all for this session. Thank you so much for coming, you guys.
Thank you.
That's all we have.
Thank you. All right. Good.